Welcome to the Retro Blood.
Can you believe this? It's Christmas Eve, and we got orders to bring in Santa Claus.
Cindy, if you don't go back to bed, Santa won't come.
He's not the only one.
What you might get up to? All those kitties sitting on your knee all day?
I'd love to have you sitting on my knee.
Christmas carolers. I hate Christmas carolers. Screeching boys, little blue sniffers. I warned you, Brad!
Mommy, you shouldn't have said that. It's naughty to say bad things about old people. Santa Claus will punish you.
Carpet Day! No!
Don't! It's gonna hurt our kids. We're not even sure it's him.
Not sure my ass. Look at the fur on that suit.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Retro Blood as we continue this journey into 1980s holiday horror. Up next, if y'all like killer cars that are kind of like Night Raider, but like not like Night Raider. You know what I mean? The evil version. All right.
What the hell? Okay.
Well, you never seen Knight Rider before?
I have seen Knight Rider, but that's a weird comparison to make.
You know, okay. I mean, this one didn't talk, but it's like that. If y'all like nerds who want to have sex with their cars when they get cool and don't care about their women,
yeah,
that's actually a real thing. I've seen it with my own two eyes.
It is a real thing. Yeah.
If y'all like old dudes that run a garage shop that were the best part of this movie, then this is the movie for you. Because the Retro Blood is talking all about Christine.
Christine.
It's alive. Christine's alive.
It is alive.
John Carpenter's Christine, J. Alison, James Kline. What are you going to say, Alison? What's happening?
What's up, man? So another great holiday horror season here at the old Retro Blood. So I've never seen this movie. I thought I had.
I know I haven't.
I had never seen this movie. I have read the book.
Oh, okay. We got the book back. I was going to ask you about that too.
I read the book. I can talk about the book a little bit. It's been a long time since I've read it, but I can talk about it a little bit. So there were quite a few differences. So it's weird. So this was the only John Carpenter movie I've never seen.
Interesting.
Isn't that really strange? Like, I've seen every movie the man's ever made except this one, apparently.
Well, hey, now you've seen it.
Because if I've seen this, I don't remember it. I remember the trailer.
Yeah.
And I think that I thought I'd seen it because I'd seen the trailer so many times. Also, 1983, this is a very vivid year in my life. So I remember this time period specifically.
Yeah.
Like when this movie was out. I remember when this movie was in theaters. I remember when a lot of the other stuff we're going to talk about happened. But yeah. So this is a very vivid time for me. So this is a really cool movie for us to do, and I'm glad you picked it.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, so, like I was saying the last couple episodes, this is our third annual Holiday Horror 1980s month, but we're kind of doing like a little slim pickings here, because we've already done like the ones that mostly have like the killer Santas and everything. But, this movie did get released around holiday Christmas time, and it did have a couple Christmas scenes in it. Most of them probably got deleted. That's fine. All right. But it
took place around Christmas.
Yeah, and this one too. Look, when they're doing promotion for the film, it was in a Christmas parade, so that counts as well too.
Yeah.
So, but like you were saying with the John Carpenter, the Retro Blood, we have done. I feel like we have like a catalog of his movies so far that we've done for the 3 years that we've been doing this podcast, because we have done most of his movies. I don't think we have done all of them yet in the 80s, but we have done most of them.
Yeah, well, I actually checked. So he did 8 movies in the 1980s, and we've done 4 of them.
Nice. Well, there you go, half. There you
go. And one of them, a couple of them don't fit our theme, so I don't know if we'll ever do those or not. Because he also made Big Trouble in Little China.
Yeah.
And he made Starman.
Well, maybe we'll have an off month. You know what I mean?
Well, actually, so wait, he did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. and we've done one. After tonight, we will have done 1, 2, 3, 4. One of the other ones we're definitely going to do, so we'll have done 5 of them, and then that would leave Starman and Big Trouble in Little China for us to have done, and Escape from New York.
Yeah, and of course,
so we could fit Escape from New York into the theme of the show, probably.
Yeah, we'll fit it in there, brother. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? We'll add the snake man himself in there. No problem.
Luckily, we don't have to do 90s movies, so that we don't have to do Memoirs of an Invisible Man.
Yeah, we ain't doing the 90s shit yet. All right.
Yeah, it has Chevy Chase in it, so this is definitely not definitely not something we would be doing. But anyway, this
we're
not there yet. We're in the 80s.
Yeah, we're getting there. But this one is pretty interesting though. Like I can't wait to talk about it when we do the Who booked this shit, because like this is like a collab of like Stephen King people and John Carpenter kind of like mixed into one of how they like produce this movie and everything. And apparently, like they were saying before, and I'm kind of curious about it because I never read the book, surprisingly. Okay, I
think we're all. Well, I'm sure we're all shocked.
Yeah, they're all shocked that I didn't read the book. Okay, but I was like, you know what? I bet you while I was watching this and they were talking about the book the whole time, I was like, you know what? I bet that Alison. I bet he fucking read that fucking book. He probably had the hardcover and the soft cover, brother. Okay, he probably had both of them.
Back then, I only had the soft cover, but I think I have a hardcover now.
Yeah,
because I'm kind of going back and collecting all of the first edition Stephen King hardcovers that I can find.
Yeah, but this one definitely is gonna be a fun one. This is a little different than like your normal like John Carpenter experimental style movie, but I still liked it. So, but like I said, we'll talk about it. But we got to continue the tradition there, Alison, of what holiday beer are you drinking this week?
So, I am drinking. I moved away from the North Carolina beers this week, and I am drinking the Samuel Adams annual Christmas beer that they call Old Fezziwig, which is named after a character in A Christmas Carol.
Yes.
So Fezziwig was like I believe he was the guy that was trying to get Scrooge to enjoy Christmas. I need to read that book again because
did he do it with beer?
But anyway, it's like So they named the beer after him. It's a spiced brown ale, so it's kind of like Ninja Bread Man that we talked about.
Yeah,
but Ninja Bread Man is a porter. So, but this is a brown ale, and I'm going to open it here. It'll probably sound like a fart, but it's a bottle, so we'll see what happens. Oh yeah.
It's one of those Silent but Deadly Night. Silent but Deadly.
Silent but Deadly Night. Yeah, that's the sequel we're gonna make to Silent Night, Deadly Night.
Yeah, there you go. It's all about farting instead.
Yeah,
but that's good, man. Like
I use a weird bottle opener.
I stuck to my traditional holiday beer that I pretty much talked about every year on this podcast around this time. I don't think I have done it yet this year, but I can't remember. This month has been a crazy month for yours truly. But I didn't have enough time to go out and experiment a new beer. But I am going to experiment a new beer on the podcast next week when we do our Christmas episode. But I stay with my true holiday beer that I drink all the time, and I can drink this beer nonstop. It's, of course, from my homeland of Texas, brother. I got the Shiner Holiday Cheer. Fucking yeah, brother.
Oh, yes.
Now, around here, where we're living at in North Carolina, brother, they don't have the bottled version of Holiday Cheer, which is my preferred way of drinking it. If it's not out of a tap, tap is always my favorite. But if it's not out of a tap, always. Bottle is there. So they have the can one. The can one's okay. You know what I mean? But I prefer either the tap or the bottle. Because, man, if I had this shit on tap, I'd probably be fucked up. That's for sure. But this one's good.
What is it? I was about to say, what's the taste like in it? Like,
this one's kind of interesting one. So it's not like a stout or anything like that. It's not like heavy. some of the ingredients is it has peaches and pecans in it. So it's a little bit of peachy and a little bit of pecan at the same time. So it's just a nice like beer. Like it's kind of one of those beers where you can drink it and it tastes like, if you like pecan, like I'm a really big pecan guy. Like that's actually my favorite. I like pecan everything. Pecan pie. Just feed me all the pecan brothers. And I'm actually a pretty good peaches guy too. I'm actually not allergic to them. And that's actually one of the flavors, like one of the only flavors I drink when it comes to energy drinks is like a peach flavor. So that's why I like this one so much, because they kind of mix both of them together. And, that way, the problem with this beer is, to me, it tastes so good. And it's not like heavy or anything. It's not like heavy. It's not too bitter or anything like that. So it goes down very smooth and easy. But you can get yourself a little trouble because you'll keep wanting to drink it and drink it and drink it. Next thing you know, you're fucked up. So you got to be a little careful with this one out here.
Yeah, because it's very smooth with the peach and the pecan.
Yeah,
I've had it once before. Mm-hmm. I've had it once before, and I did like it. I think it's a good beer. It's just very, for my palate and from where I'm from, which is here, peach is not really a holiday flavor like it would be maybe in Texas where it's hotter.
Yeah.
Because you probably have peaches later in the year. So peach to us is like a summer thing.
Yeah.
But it does work really well with that pecan
mixture
taste.
with it, yeah.
But yeah, that's a good beer. Shiner's not bad.
Yeah, they do.
Once I never really had a lot of Shiner until I started hanging out with you. I'd only had like Shiner Bock, which I thought was fine, but I didn't think it's anything special. But like some of their other beers that are harder to get around here are actually pretty good.
Yeah. And shout out to the Shiner S'mores beer too. That is also one of my go-tos for this time of year as well too. That's a fantastic one too. But next week we are going a little darker for the beers, brother, because this is the time of year for stouts. And all you people who hate on stouts, this is a retro blood thing, bro. We love the stouts. So
I love
darker
stouts.
the
like
better,
stouts
brother. Just fucking bitter, dark as shit. You can't even see you can't even see anything in it. That's how dark I like it, brother. You can't even see jack. You don't know what the hell's in that thing. Okay, it's kind of like it's kind of like Christine's engine. We don't know what's in there. Okay.
Nope. Nope. But there's probably motor oil, which is what the stout looks like.
Exactly.
Yeah, a friend of mine at a show a few months ago accused me of drinking motor oil when I was drinking my stouts because he only drinks lager. But stouts are great, man. Like, yeah, you're right. I mean, they need to be dark and bitter, just like my soul.
Yes, exactly. Fucking man's beer, brother. But but let's get this show on the road. Let's talk about the history segment, because every Retro Blood, me and the Alison, we do a history segment. What's happening in the world of pro wrestling and metal music. The reason we do this is because we like to give you guys an extra present every episode. You know what I mean? You don't only get our relaxing, rugged voices every week, but you also get some education. All right. So if you didn't know anything about the pro wrestling or the metal music, maybe we'll teach you something. All right. Especially around the 80s, man, because these three topics, the horror, the metal, and the pro wrestling, man, they all intertwine in one way or another.
Definitely at this time they did. And I like doing this because it also gives you an idea. Like it's like a lot of times these movies or with movies in general, it's really easy to take something out of its context. So you don't really understand like what the time was like around the time that it came out. So I like adding these like little history segments so people understand, what was going on around this time and, what the music scene was like, what the metal scene was like, what the wrestling scene was like, because it's usually the two subjects we know about and talk about. But yeah, I think it's one of the cooler things that we do is give that little context of what what was going on. And
what's cool about it too is you can see the progression out of different years.
Yeah.
Because wrestling and metal music and horror movies change almost every year in the 80s to something a little bit more different. So you're not going to have the same style, like almost the same style quality you will have in like 1983, then you have like 1987. It's going to be a little different, you know what I mean, when it comes to like commercialized and stuff. So, but I say we do the wrestling first because I got some cool stuff to talk about. And we'll save the metal to the end because I know we have a lot to talk about when it comes to the metal music. But I kind of wanted to do something for this holiday season when it comes to the pro wrestling. Hopefully we can find something for next week and our New Year's show as well, too. But there is a movie coming out that me and Alison have been debating. We're definitely going to watch it. We're just going to see if we have time to actually review it on the Lights Out. And that's going to be the new Von Erich movie. What's it called? The Iron Claw.
The Iron Claw, yeah.
So I thought, since the movie is basically takes place about the Von Erich family, and the Von Erich family is prominent in the 80s, I thought maybe for the next 3 episodes we kind of focus on the Dallas territory, which is actually one of my favorite wrestling territories. So hopefully, we just got to make sure the movies that we find, we can find something about it. But hopefully, we'll be able to. But I kind of like maybe for this episode and the next 2 episodes that we have for this for the month, we can talk about a little bit about the Dallas territory. So the one I got, so this movie, the Christine, came out in U.S. theaters around December 9th, 1983, brother. Okay, so we got a horror movie coming out in December, which is actually, I think it was kind of rare for this time for that to happen. Not nowadays. Now they got fucking Christmas horror movies popping out their ass every minute. All right. But this one, it might have been a little different. So I did I went to the good old Peacock. All right. And it's I believe it's season 2 on there. And it's the December 10th, 1983 episode of the world-class television show that they did. And this one was actually taking place from a Reunion Arena. So we're not in the Sportatorium. We're actually in the Reunion Arena, which is a little bit bigger of a venue that they ran for some of their bigger shows. Like I think they did a couple of the Star Wars shows in the Reunion Arena. So, but this is if you all like just matches, you know what I mean? This is the show. It just kind of reminds me of that Dynamite that we had this past Wednesday, where it's just like major. We have maybe 1 or 2 interviews, but it's all matches. You know what I mean? If you like the in-ring quality, this is the show for you. This one's like half the matches we had on that Dynamite because the show is only about 45 minutes. But check it out. Like if you want to see how popular these Von Erich kids were, like this is actually a pretty good episode to watch to see. And the craziest thing about this episode, which I'll get to soon, is David Von Erich. Little factoid that I had about him, but I'll start off. So, we do get like a little bit of recap. But the first match we're going to have is Kevin Von Erich, who we just saw on AEW, brother. He is here, and he is going one-on-one with Terry Gordy from the Fabulous Freebirds. I must say Free Brothers. So, yeah. This match is pretty good. A lot of like, so this is the era where we work a hold. Alison, do you know what work a hold means?
Oh, yeah. Working a hold. You put somebody in a hold, and then you stay in that hold and make people believe that you are killing the other guy with this hold.
Yes. So this is this is the work the hold match where Kevin was basically working over Terry's arm the whole match. And which is funny because they were saying like, yes, we got the high flyer Kevin Von Erich, and then he didn't do like any high flying at all. He's actually more like a Zack Sabre Jr. type where he just did a bunch of submission holds. So I thought that was kind of funny.
Yeah, he was the he was one that wrestled with no shoes, right?
Yeah, no shoes. Yeah, he's the surviving Von Erich. But yeah,
I was about to say he's the only one still alive, right?
Yes, he's the one. Yeah, and he was just there last Wednesday on Dynamite, so pretty crazy. So basically, this match they had some interference. Yeah, an '80s classic, brother. Interference in this match. All right, and Kevin picked up the victory for the interference. And then we had from Buddy. He interfered. So the next match we had is this one's pretty interesting. So we have David Von Erich, the older brother of the Von Erichs, who was probably the most, besides the dad, he was probably the most like technical wrestler out of them, and he was probably the most well-worked wrestler. Like he could actually work a match very well. Like he was a very polished wrestler. And at this time, he's doing an interview about Kamala, where he was the only man. Alison, check this out. He was the only man to give Kamala a run for his money. You know what I mean? He was the only man to stand up to Kamala and be able to go toe to toe with the Ugandan giant. What was it? What was his nickname? What was it? Kamala's?
Yeah,
it was something.
Yeah, the Kamala, the Ugandan giant.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Which he was kind of a monster. I mean, so I didn't get to see Kamala a lot because he spent a lot of time in the Dallas territory.
Yeah,
which I didn't know. I knew almost nothing about until probably until WWE put out that documentary about it. I mean, I knew who the Von Erichs were, and I knew the basic idea, and I knew the sad story of the Von Erichs, but I didn't really know a lot about it. But he spent a lot of time in Texas, so I didn't really see a lot of Kamala. But I thought he has a really cool look,
yeah,
and he's a good wrestler. He's a good big man wrestler.
Yeah.
Kamala the Ugandan giant.
Yeah, he would later go on to the E. I believe he went to the E in 1985, I believe. But he pretty much got his start in world class, has this gimmick. And he was pretty much like the big monster type wrestler. Like, you know what I mean? That barely goes off his feet. A lot of power moves. You can't really stop him. But David Von Erich, he is the guy who's actually be able to go toe-to-toe. And this match was actually pretty good. Like, this David guy was, like I said, he was a very solid wrestler. Like, he's one of those wrestlers that can have a good match with anybody. And this one was back and forth action, and they both actually busted open each other, which is crazy. So we had both of them bleeding. It was like a freaking Ambrose match, or Moxley match over here. And so we had some interference again, because that's what we had to do.
Of course. And
while this interview is happening, Kerry Von Erich comes in, and he actually slams Kamala. All right? And he slams him, and the crowd's going crazy. And boy, this Kerry Von Erich, like when you're thinking about 80s pro wrestler, like stud, like this guy is like the guy you're looking at. You know what I mean? Because he had the looks. His wrestling was, it wasn't that bad. But boy, if this guy stayed healthy and a right mind, I bet he could have been better than the Ultimate Warrior. For sure.
Well, we can only hope, right? So he could be better than the Ultimate Warrior.
Yeah, because, Ultimate Warrior was like physically impressive, and he had a lot of energy, very for the time, face paint and stuff. But this boy, if we would have had Kerry Von Erich in that instead, I think we'd have had a totally different dynamic for a babyface, because this guy was so great.
Oh, absolutely. And and he had the look, like you mentioned before. He was just good looking. Like, the girls loved him. I mean, he was probably the most popular Von Erich, would you say?
Yeah, so yes and no. So David at this time actually was the most popular Von Erich, just because he's been wrestling a lot more than the other Von Erich. So he was like the older brother. So he was like they gave him a lot more profile matches. And like I was saying before, David was actually the more solid wrestler. Like, he was like the most solid wrestler. Like, he wasn't like physically impressive as Kerry was, and he wasn't as like light on his feet as Kevin, but he did have like all like the what this time was looking for a great wrestler. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So he's kind of like a Barry Windham type. You know what I mean? He's a really good wrestler. He's not like a standout body wise, but he's a very solid wrestler. But you could tell this Kerry guy, like, you could tell later on the 80s and stuff, like, this guy was gonna, like, which he did get over, like, huge. You know what I mean? But, obviously the tragedy that happened with him is super sad. But it just, it's crazy. And like, the one thing too is when Kerry slammed Kamala, Kamala's manager said that if any man could slam Kamala, they would win $10,000. So they're all shocked that this Kerry was able to slam Kamala. So we don't know if he's going to get the $10,000 or not. We have to stay tuned. So.
Yeah, I mean, I would imagine that would be. I mean, Kamala probably weighs 400 pounds at least.
Yeah, something like that. Maybe 350.
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, and even though, I mean, Kerry, I'm sure, was in great shape and was very strong, but like, picking up a person like that and slamming them is not easy. So,
yeah.
Slamming Kamala was, I'm sure, a feat.
Oh, yeah. So, and then David actually won this match due to the disqualification and some history I did on this. So this is December 10th, 1983 when this aired. Not even 3 months to the date. February 10th, 1984. That's when David Von Erich would tragically pass away in Japan with that stomach attack that he had. And when he was wrestling for All Japan.
Yeah, I didn't know it was that early. Yeah. So he was the first one to die if you don't count the little kid, right?
Yes.
The 6-year-old died first.
Well, there was no. So there was like a young there was like the first ever Von Erich kid, which they don't talk about that much. He died like in a crib or something. But yes, if you don't count that one, he was the first. I thought
he was electrocuted.
No, that one happened later. Oh, maybe he was electrocuted. Whatever the first Von Erich kid was, he's the one that died first somehow.
Yeah, that's 6.
At 6,
but this was way before they were like. I mean, Fritz was a wrestler, but like this was way. He was the first son.
Yeah,
and then he had the 5 other ones.
Yes,
3 of which committed suicide, and then one of them died in Japan, which was David.
It was David, yes, with some sort of
and then
stomach.
Kevin's still alive.
Yeah, some sort of stomach ulcer or something like that.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, just tragic, man. And then this is when they did the whole, in February they did the whole. Tribute show to him. That's when Kerry won the title from Ric Flair and everything. So, but it's just crazy to think, like, not even like freaking 3 months later, man. And this guy, like, you could tell by watching this show, like, this guy was like on his way. David was on his way to be like the top star in this promotion. So, like I said, like, Kerry was more physical, impressive looking. But when it came to the athleticism and the realism, David had the more wrestling ability, just the more presence, the more wrestling ability, and that's what they were trying to go with at the time. So, but yeah, super sad. But everybody, check out that Von Erich movie. I mean, that's going to be a very fun one. Since I know the history about it, it should be very interesting to see. Like, I was listening to this other podcast, and they were saying, like, what if people like watch that movie and don't even know anything about the Von Erich history? Like, they just think it's some sort of wholesome wrestling story. I'm like, bro, you guys are gonna be super shocked because some of that shit gets dark, like super.
So that was gonna be my question. Like, how are they gonna make this movie and it not just be horribly depressing?
I know. That's what I'm saying. Like, it's super dark. Okay, what happens with this shit? It's like, fuck. I don't know, man. That's why I'm really interested in seeing it. Like,
and especially the way the trailer's cut, because it kind of looks like a comedy.
Yeah, I know, like a comedy, good old wholesome film, like some sort of those Christmas wholesome films.
Yeah.
I mean, fuck, you can almost make this shit like a horror movie. I mean, it's fucking, it's just a sad story. Like it's a very depressing, sad story.
So. It's horribly sad. Like, I mean. Like, I can't. Yeah, it's horribly sad. I mean, 3 of them committed suicide.
Yeah.
One of them killed himself at 21, I believe. Chris. I think Chris killed himself when he was 21 years old.
Yeah.
But yeah, like that scene in the trailer where Fritz is saying, where he mentions the boys and he talks about which order he favors them in or whatever, and he's like, but that can change at any time. That's a funny little scene. But that movie, I don't see how this movie is not going to be horribly depressing for people. So be ready for that. Take your antidepressants before you go.
I mean, maybe they're not going to lean too much now. See, I have no idea. I really don't know how, because isn't A24? Aren't they known for doing horror movies, or am I just thinking about something else?
They are known for that, but they've done a bunch of different kinds of movies, though. They've done a lot of mainstream movies. They won an Academy Award, or were nominated for Academy Award for that roller derby movie. They've done a bunch of mainstream movies, so this is like, I guess you would call this mainstream. If a wrestling movie can be mainstream, this is a mainstream movie.
Yeah, like I said, everybody, if we have some time, me and Alison will jump on there and the lights out and talk about the movie, because I am super interested in that movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're definitely going to.
It just might have to come down later on the pipeline. So the next match we have over here is Chris Adams, all right, versus Jimmy Garden for, check this one out, Alison, the American Heavyweight Champion. So you ain't going to be French, you ain't going to be British, you ain't going to be Mexican, you're going to be the American, brother, Heavyweight Champion.
Well, Mexico's in America. It's in Central America.
Well, okay, yeah, I guess they didn't say it.
They didn't specify.
Yeah, they didn't specify if it's the whole. All right. They're just the American champion. I just thought it was gonna be why can't we have the beer drinking champion? Why can't we just have that one? That's all. That's the only one I want. You know what I mean?
That's the one we should start that. Yeah. AEW should have the beer drinking heavyweight champion.
Yeah, we had so if it's nowadays, we had to have the Beer City Bruiser winning. Where the hell is he?
I was gonna say he's the only person. He lives in Charlotte now, actually.
Oh yeah, he don't wrestle now.
Yeah, I think he does indies. But yeah, who else would win that except the Beer City Bruiser?
Nowadays, Silas Young would win it. Maybe Cody and Jey Uso. You know, what I mean, they seem like they're pretty. Well, they might have been high.
I don't know if they drink beer. I think they're more liquor guys, but I don't really know. I know.
We have to find that. We have to go down the list and see who's a beer drinker. Whoever has the biggest gut, I guess.
Me.
There you go. You'll be at the Beer City, the beer chuggling champion or something. But anyway, this match right here. So the big thing about this match was, it was a title match that they had, and Chris Adams had Sunshine in his corner.
Yeah.
And of course, Sunshine used to manage Jimmy Garvin, and Jimmy Garvin has Precious in his corner, and the Precious basically was the assistant to Sunshine for a little while. Until Jimmy started having feelings for Precious over Sunshine, and that's when he kicked Sunshine out of the way and joined Precious. You know, but in Shoot Life for a long time when they were doing the Sunshine and Jimmy Garvin, he was always married to Precious, which is funny.
Yeah, I knew he was married to one of them, but I couldn't remember which one. Yeah, but it was Precious. It was Precious, married to, yeah.
So now they're fully together, Jimmy and Precious. And then we have Chris Adams and Sunshine. They're all facing each other. And, of course, Sunshine and Precious don't like each other. Two wild, blonde, 80 girls out there. This match is pretty good. Like, you know, these are two solid wrestlers. You know, Chris Adams is actually the guy who I don't know if he actually invented the super kick, but he's the one that kind of, like, made it, like, a thing. Like a finishing move.
Yeah, I would find it hard to believe that he invented it, but yeah, he was the one that was known. He's the one that basically Shawn Michaels got the super kick from, right?
Yeah, because he
most
used
likely,
that, yeah, because he used it as his finish in World Class.
Yeah,
and that was the first time anybody has ever used the move as a finish. So, but he could have been the guy who actually invented it. I'm not exactly sure.
It could have been.
So, but they're going back and forth. Match is pretty good. The finish basically had. Precious was distracting Chris for a little bit. Then Sunshine went over there, pushed her down, and then Sunshine distracted. Well, I don't know if she really didn't distract. It was weird because Jimmy Garvin hit the ropes. Precious takes his hair and flies him down on the floor right in front of the referee, and then Chris Adams just pins him and he wins the belt. And I thought there was going to be some sort of disqualification for interference, but there wasn't. Chris Adams just wins the belt. So he's the new American heavyweight champion. This British guy is the champion of all America.
Congratulations.
Yes, the Tea Party is now destroyed. We have a ruler of Chris Adams. He's now our champion. So then we go off the air. And I do like it where the announcer is like, you were like this one, Alison. He was all like, listen, guys, we gave you all these fucking matches over here. Like, what more can we bring you? But tune in next week because we're going to bring you more exciting matches. I was like, man, AEW has to do something like that. Like, he was all like, we got you this match, and this match. What more do you guys want? But we'll bring you more.
More matches.
Oh, it's a great. Yeah, that's a good show.
Yeah, I feel like they should sell their show more like that.
Yeah. It's like, we gave you guys so many fucking good matches, but come back, we're going to give you some more.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, pretty fun show. But, Alison, what do you got for us in the metal? What are we listening to on our way to the theater, seeing Christine?
So, when I was starting to research this, there was a lot. I was astounded, actually. So, we're in December 1983. So, between December 1st and December 10th, this movie came out on the 9th, there was like, in 10 days, there was a ridiculous amount of good heavy metal albums that came out. Like, we wouldn't even have had enough money to buy all the albums that came out. Some of them we've talked about previously, like Slayer's first album, Show No Mercy, came out that week with Evil Has No Boundaries. There was basically there's a band that if you haven't heard of them, you should listen to them. They're called Manila Road. They're a little unknown, but they released their album Crystal Logic. Their next album, Open the Gates, is probably their most famous album because it's considered one of the best American power metal albums of all time. But on December the 1st, they released Crystal Logic, which is a great album. It's their first. So Miller Road was like a space rock or like a prog rock kind of band in the late 70s, very early 80s. But they kind of transitioned more into a heavy metal sound. And Crystal Logic is the time that the full album was like all heavy metal. Ozzy Osbourne released Bark at the Moon on the 10th. Which was, kind of a big, it was kind of a big deal for him at the time. It was, he made his first music video. And I remember that album, like being out and at the mall that we go to. Well, I don't go there anymore, but you go there more often than I do. But across from where Belk is, now there used to be a record store over there across the hall from Belk. And when my family would go shopping at the mall, they would kind of dump me in the record store and I would just like look at records. And I remember like around this time when this album came out, there was like I'm sure I was a little kid. So I'm sure it was bigger. It looked bigger than it really was. But my memory is there's like a full wall poster, like on the wall of the cover of Ozzy Osbourne's Bark at the Moon, where he's like dressed as the werewolf. And like, I saw that and I'm like, oh my God, that's amazing. Like at that point in time, I hadn't heard Black Sabbath yet. I don't think I even really knew who Ozzy Osbourne was, but I remember seeing it. I'm like, oh my God, I got to hear that. That's amazing. That looks so fucking cool. So I remember when that came out, and also a classic album came out that week, Accept's Balls to the Wall. Accept is one of those bands that they're kind of a cult band. So they're not like the biggest band in the world as far as metal goes, but this Balls to the Wall album was a huge hit for them. And it came out in Europe in December of 1983, the first week in December, and the United States version was delayed until January because their last album was still a big hit. But the biggest song that I can think of is the Balls to the Wall single, which was the first song on the album. This is a great album. They're a German band.
Yeah. And I always
thought that.
You know what I noticed about this band too? Like when I was listening to them, like the vocal guy, he kind of sounds like the guy from AC/DC.
Yeah, he does. He sounds a lot like. I would say that Accept is very AC/DC like.
Yeah, they're a little more.
Yeah, I always a little more heavier. But yeah, I always thought that their singer had a cool name. His name is Udo Dirkschneider.
Yeah, there you go.
Which is like probably, I guess that sounds like a beer. Yeah, it could be a very common German name, but yeah, Udo Dirkschneider is a really cool name, and their guitar player is named Wolf Hoffman.
There you go.
So yeah, so they're a great band, and we'll play Balls to the Wall at the end of the episode tonight.
Yeah, like
we haven't done that before.
They kind of sound like AC/DC, right? But like it's like if AC/DC loved like Motorhead.
Yes. Well, right. Yeah. Motorhead is actually, I guess, what I would describe them more. Yeah. It's like Motorhead with AC/DC singer.
Yeah. Kinda. And it's pretty good. Stuff is pretty good. So this album is pretty interesting too. Like apparently this one was like semi like controversial because of all the topics of the the gay culture at this time too. So I thought that was pretty interesting.
because the cover like it's got like a guy in like a leather jacket and like leather like underwear, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know what you call that. And he's holding like a ball in his hand.
Yeah. It's kind of like that the biker look.
It's like the gay biker thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Going on. So a lot of songs some of the songs are about that too, so it's pretty interesting. So maybe our boy Dennis was into that, you know what I mean? You never know.
Yeah, like London Leather Boys, like there's no way that's not about like gay sex, right?
Yeah. I mean, it has to be. And then,
it has to be.
So, yeah, I mean, like, and then Love Child was another one, too, which is one of their big hits. Yeah. And that was also another one that was, like, around, like, talk about that same kind of subject. So. Mm-hmm. It was written from the perspective of an alleged gay man. So that's how the song was written. So pretty interesting stuff. To be honest with you, that was pretty ballsy of them to do like a record around this time, around that subject.
Yeah, especially in that time. Yeah,
exactly.
Like 1983. Yeah. I mean, that was pretty. That was a pretty big deal, and for it to be a big hit in America at that time, because America was pretty conservative as far as like with the PMRC and all that shit that was about to come out. They were pretty conservative. So so it's a pretty big deal for them to have like that kind of subject matter into a mainstream American album.
Yeah, but pretty good album, you know what I mean? I listened to most of it. Pretty easy to listen to. Singer's pretty, like I said, very AC/DC singer-like. But I liked it. I thought it was pretty good. So we'll play a little bit at the end of the show, brother. We'll pop it. We'll pop the track, all right, in our 1958 Plymouth Fury. All right? That's trying to kill us and choke out all of our women.
Yeah.
Right? So, but I say, let's get into the Who book this shit, brother, because we have a lot to talk about when it comes to this. So, Christine, like you were saying before, is a Stephen King book. Okay? And around this particular time in the 80s, this Stephen King guy, his shit was like gold. Okay? Because he didn't really have like any kind of like competition too much when it comes to the book world of horror, and stories or mystery stories like this. So this is just one of his many books, and they apparently like the book Christine, I think it came out like maybe like a year before this movie did. All right, but then the book, while the book was like already out and stuff, that's when they were like kind of like making the movie. And then when the movie got released again, the hard book I think was like a number like 11 on the chart, but then they released a soft book cover which was number 1. So it really helped mix everything together. Like it's pretty cool where you can have like a top selling book and a new movie about the book, like kind of like both like coming out at the same time. You know what I mean? Like both very hot at the same time. And I think that chemistry right there really helped this movie gain a lot of success, because this is actually one of the movies that John Carpenter released that actually made some money and got really good critically success, like at the beginning, Because if you remember, a lot of John Carpenter's films that we've been doing, like we like them nowadays. They're like cult classics, but at the time they didn't get a lot of good reviews there. Like it was like they didn't get a lot of hype around them.
Well, he was going through a rough period right now, because he was the Thing he had just put out The Thing like the year before, right? And the Thing did not do well at the time,
which is crazy.
And he basically, from my understanding, made Christine, but just for the paycheck. He did not want to make Christine.
Yeah, like basically
he did it as a job.
Yeah, he wanted to do it because he needed work. All right, and he wanted to kind of like get his reputation back a little bit. You know what I mean? So it was a little bit of both. Like, yeah, he didn't, like, it might have been his first choice, but he wanted to kind of get himself back on there, get a paycheck, get a movie going. You know what I mean? Get himself back out there. Because like we're saying before, The Thing and stuff. We all love The Thing now. It's like a big cult classic, but at the time, not a lot of people were digging the film. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it was one of the few movies around this time that he made that he didn't write.
Yes. He did do the music for it, though. Part of it, at least.
Yes.
Which is cool. I actually thought the soundtrack of this movie was pretty good. Not the actual songs they used. Those were fine, too. But John Carpenter's, like normal soundtrack for the movie, I thought it was actually pretty good as well, too.
Yeah, it definitely has that John Carpenter sound. Like when you... when Christine's lights come on, you hear that that he puts in all of his, like he did in Halloween 3, which he did the music for. It's very Halloween 3 sounding.
Yeah, and he also did with the little it sounded like the heartbeat with the car too. I thought that was pretty cool. So a couple of things. So our boy Richard Kobritz had previously produced the 1979 miniseries Salem's Lot. All right, which we may or may not be doing on Lights Out one day. Yeah, that one might be a little bit of a chore because it is 3 hours long.
Yes.
So
that'd be a two-parter.
Yeah, so that was based on the Stephen King novel. So Stephen King was basically told this guy, Richard, like, hey, I'll send you some material, man. If you want to make a movie out of one of my books, I'll give you the free range to do it. And Richard, he was all excited about doing that because he felt like he hit a gold mine because, like I was saying before, Stephen King's material, was like, there wasn't a whole lot of like competition to it. You know what I mean? So he already had like a very established fan base. And there's not like, it's not like we're going to have like 18 movies like Christine coming out. You know what I mean? So.
Right.
So
especially during this time. I mean, there were other horror writers.
Yes.
That were like Peter Straub that were popular.
Yeah.
But Stephen King, so Stephen King wasn't even in his main popularity at this point. Like, he was a popular author who was finally making a living writing novels. But like a year after this, he would get huge.
Yeah.
83, 84, 85, he was like probably the biggest author in the world. But yeah, he was on his way up. Like, he was a rising star. So making a Stephen King property into a movie was a big deal for anybody at this point.
Yes. And Richard, Kobritz, he got sent 2 scripts, like 2 novels. One was Cujo and one was Christine.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently he passed on Cujo. He didn't really want to do the dog, the crazy dog. But he liked Christine because he liked the story of it celebrating Americans' obsession with the motor car. And boy, things have not changed. People are still obsessed with the cars.
And it also made sense because also around this time, people were kind of like looking back to the 50s. Like 50s stuff was really popular in the 80s.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways, like, Happy Days was a popular show about the 50s, and like bands like the Stray Cats were like doing like rockabilly and stuff like that. So I mean, bringing back this 1957 Plymouth Fury for this movie was probably something that he's like, yeah, okay, I can see how that would be a bigger hit these days than a story about a rabbit dog.
Yeah. So apparently, Kobritz and Carpenter, they had previously collaborated on the 1978 television film Somebody's Watching Me. So they all worked together. So that's why he kind of knew to, trying to get Carpenter to come on here. Bill Phillips was also Carpenter's choice for writer and was brought on shortly after Carpenter arrived. Carpenter also joined by special effects supervisor Roy Arbogast, and had previously worked with Carpenter in The Thing. So John, Carpenter, he likes to bring his own people aboard. You know what I mean? Which is fine with me because most of his movies are pretty excellent. With this, they put a lot of work into it, and I just like his filming style. So, according to Carpenter, Christine was not a film he had planned on directing, saying that he directed the film as a job as opposed to a personal project, kind of like what we talked about before. He had previously directed The Thing, which had done poorly at the box office and led to critical backlash. In retrospect, Carpenter stated that upon reading Christine, he felt that it just wasn't very frightening, but it was something I needed to do at the time for my career. Which, I wouldn't say this movie is really scary, but there is like creepy aspects to it. But it is, it's not like it's like super like, it's not like a traditional creepy horror movie, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, like, I guess the idea of like the car stalking you is kind of scary, but yeah, it's not a very scary movie.
Yeah. And there was some differences in the book.
There were. Yes, there are some differences.
Now, was the main difference there, Alison, was the possession of the evil spirit of the previous owner, Ronald D. Liebe. Where, I guess it was his spirit taking over the car in the book?
Yeah, so in the book, the car is not really evil. It's possessed by the spirit of the... So Ronald is a serial killer.
I gotcha.
And his spirit possesses
like
the
Chucky.
car, and kind of except as a car, not a doll. And also in the book, I'm pretty sure that he sells the car to Arine himself, and his brother tries to warn him. His brother's in the book or in the movie, and he talks about his brother killing himself. But he tries to warn Arnie against buying the car, and Roland sells him the car anyway. Or Ronald, excuse me. It's Ronald, right? Ronald is the serial killer's name. Yeah.
Yes.
So he buys it directly from Ronald. And Ronald's not in the movie at all.
No.
The whole concept of Ronald being a serial killer is not in the movie at all, period.
Yeah, no. It just died by carbon monoxide poisoning?
Yeah, and he died in the car.
In the car, yeah.
Apparently a long time ago, because the car had sit there and rusted out for a very long time. But it also had a different ending. So instead of the ending that we got, and when I say this, you'll see why they didn't use this, because it's really hard when I even say it out loud for it not to sound silly. But there's the ending actually, I believe, is there's a possessed truck that fights Christine at the end of the movie.
Oh, that'd be
the book. I mean, it might have been better than this. Than the world's slowest monster fight that we got at the end of this movie, but we'll get there.
Well, you know what I mean. Kind of remind me of Transformers a little bit.
It's that very, very slow.
Very slow. So a couple of things I want to talk about, a little bit about the casting, because I thought this was interesting. So originally, the casting directors, instead, they wanted a young Kevin Bacon to be in this film. But he was about to do it. Like, he signed on. He was like, hey, I'm ready to go. But then he got offered Footloose.
And then told him to go fuck themselves.
And told him, was like, he wrote him a letter saying, sorry, guys. Gotta go take this other movie. And good for him, because isn't that how he got his fandom, pretty much, was from Footloose?
Yep, that's how he got famous, yeah.
Yeah. Now, we all know him from Friday the 13th, Part 1. You know what I mean? But there is another guy who was in Friday the 13th, Part 2 that was in this movie. I don't know if you noticed. The fucking nerd guy, part of the Bully clan. I was like,
okay.
He done showed up. He was I forgot his name from the Friday Part 2, but the nerd guy, who actually didn't get killed at all. He just he got left at the bar drunk, while everybody else got killed.
Yeah.
So in my mind,
he got saved from being at the bar drunk.
In my mind, like after that whole incident happened, like he just moved to the town with Christine. He was part of the Bully clan. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're all connected.
Well, that's kind of sad that he got spared being killed and then he became an asshole.
Yeah, that's what happens. So something funny about the car too. All right, is the car was like I said, was it 1958 Plymouth Fury. All right. Mm-hmm. And the reason they picked this car, because this car right here was actually made at the same time as like the Corvette. You know what I mean? Like the kind of like the higher end cars that you get around. Yeah. We kind of know, like in American history, of being some of the most iconic cars at the time. And this car was made at the time, but it wasn't as iconic, and it's kind of like lost in history. So that's why they kind of like pick this model of car. You know what I mean? Because it's kind of like, why was this car so lost in history compared to it came up at the same time as all these other iconic cars. So there has to be a reason why this car wasn't as famous. And I actually thought that was a pretty good idea to make it like, okay, well, maybe this brand of car is haunted. So that's why I never really.
Yeah. And it was also really rare.
Yeah, it was a rare one. Yes.
There was only 5,000 of them made ever. So, and they made 17 cars for the movie. And they bought like 24. They bought 24 cars and built in different states of fucked upness. And then they built 17 working cars out of the 24 that they bought. But yeah, there were only 5,000 made ever. So they had to find enough cars to make this movie.
Yeah. So, a couple of fun things about some of the cast as well too. The guy who played Ernie, Keith Gordon. Yeah. I would say this is not one of his first films he did. His first film was actually Jaws 2. All right.
Yeah.
Which is pretty interesting. But he was like one of the, so they wanted to like cast a lot of like unknown actors, save money on budget. Because, Carpenter's whole thing was like, the star of the movie is going to be the car. The car is going to be the star. Yes. We're gonna put the car over. He's our WrestleMania headliner. That's the car is. Everybody else is going to be a supporting role. So we don't need to cast like these like very famous actors in this film at the time. So that's why he was kind of getting like a little bit of the lower tier. But this guy who played the Ernie and stuff, like he was probably like one of the only actors on the show that wasn't like his first movie. So, and apparently he would go on to direct a bunch of movies as well too later on in life.
Well, Harry Dean Stanton was a pretty famous actor who played the detective.
Yes, yeah. There was a couple like like that, but I'm talking about some of the younger actors. Oh yeah, kind of all brand new. And I didn't realize. Go ahead.
I was going to say John Stockwell would go on to be in Top Gun.
Yes.
He played Cougar. When I was reading about this movie, doing a little research, I was blown away. So apparently John Carpenter was offered Top Gun to direct Top Gun, and he turned it down.
Oh, interesting.
I mean, can you imagine that? Like, I mean, that's the big hit that he needed.
Yeah.
At this point in his career, but.
Oh yeah, that would have been a lot different world right there.
Yeah, he made this movie instead.
Yeah. So too, before we go on to some other people, but this Keith Gordon guy, he actually directed a lot of like good TV shows that I'm actually a pretty big fan of.
Like The Killing?
Yeah, The Killing. He did a couple episodes. He did Dexter. He did a lot of episodes for Dexter during its heyday of 2006 to 2013. And he also did one episode of Better Call Saul, off-brand, and he actually did a couple episodes of Fargo too. So this guy, I would say like most of his stuff has to be probably on the directing side. And he said he actually said like the reason he became a director too was because when he was working on this film, he got to work with John Carpenter and a couple of, like all his crew and stuff, and it really inspired him to actually go more into directing than it did to be like an actual actor. Also too, so I thought that was pretty cool. And another person that also did a lot of stuff in Hollywood was the girl who played Leanna, Alexandra Elizabeth Powell. This is her first movie, was this movie right here, but she went on to do such great successful films, has millions. Such as? She did Millions. All right. Cyber Bandits.
Ooh.
All right, come on, brother. 2008 True Loved. I mean, come on.
Wow.
2012 The Frankenstein's Brothers. I mean, just take my money.
It's just classics. Just the whole history of classics there.
She was in a couple episodes of Baywatch. Come on, brother. Yeah. Let's go.
Kelly Preston was in it before she was famous, as she played one of Dennis's friends. But she would go on to be fairly famous.
Wait, was she the blonde that was like?
She's the blonde, yeah.
Yeah, she was just trying, bro. That was the most useless character in this film. The blonde girl who just trying to get in Dennis's pants the whole time but failed.
Yeah. So that's Kelly Preston. She would go on to be fairly famous and marry John Travolta.
What was the purpose of her character? I'm still confused. Like nothing actually happened with her. Like I thought, like maybe she would get jealous or pissed or something. No, nothing.
No, so. She could have been cut completely out of this movie, and it wouldn't have made any difference.
Exactly. I thought she was just there because she was a hot blonde,
which is probably the case.
Yes. But enough just talking about the film. Let's get into it, brother. Let's take a ride in the 1958 car itself, the Plymouth. Let's take a ride in Christine, brother. Let's do it.
Let's go.
Sonny, you ever owned a car before?
No. I just got my license.
Start her up. Her name's Christine.
I know that the guy who owned the car before Arnie, his daughter choked to death in Christine.
It's that car. I swear it's the car.
How's Christine coming?
Oh, Cherry.
It's funny, because I heard she was total.
Well, after I cleaned up the broken glass, it wasn't so bad.
So what if you fix it up, and he just comes back and does it again?
He won't do it again.
All right, so we start off the film. All right.
Yeah.
With Bad to the Bone.
Oh, yeah.
Bad to the bone, brother. You know where I first heard this song from? Bad to the Bone.
Oh, where?
So the first time I ever heard this song, because I'm like a 90s kid, was I believe it was a Married with Children episode where Al Bundy gets his car back working. That's probably the first time I've ever heard this song before, but I thought it was pretty good for this intro.
Yeah, I thought so too. Like, this song was a huge hit when it went around this time, so putting it in this movie was probably very recognizable to people.
Yeah.
I think this song. I mean, maybe it has happened, but I think this song would be a really good wrestler's entrance theme.
Yeah, especially for the time period.
I mean, and I was thinking surely someone's come out to this song, but yeah, this would be a really good wrestler's entrance theme.
They might have it illegally.
They're good in Destroyer. Yeah.
So we're at the Detroit, 1957. We see all these cars being made because Detroit was like the car making capital, and we could see that the red car is standing out because all the other cars were white. And then when we have the inspector guy check it, the hood falls on his hand. So we can see something's happening with this car. And then we have another inspector go in there, listen to the song, and he drops his cigar on there. And then this other inspector guy notices something's wrong. He opens up the car, and the guy that was smoking the cigar in there is now dead. So we can see something's happening.
You don't ash your cigar in Christine.
Yeah, I like that.
Interesting fun fact. So, do you know why all the other cars are white?
No.
So, the Plymouth Fury was only ever made in white.
Oh, okay, interesting.
There's never been, other than custom painted ones, there's never been a red Plymouth Fury. It was. The book talks about it being red. It talks about it being custom ordered to be red and white. But all 5,000 Plymouth Furies that were made that year were all white with a beige seats. So the other cars are actually the color of what a Plymouth Fury should be.
Yeah, but this one's custom.
Little useless factoid for you there, but
that's good. I like it. Yeah, this one's the special one, the special ordered one. So then we jump to 1978. We're September 12th. We're in Rockbridge, California. This is when we meet our good old boy Dennis. He's kind of like a younger jock who has a very nerdy friend. He pulls up, and I like how the mom was like, "Turn off that music. It's like air pollution. Your music is." I was like, and I was just thinking, like, bro, if she heard the music nowadays, she would just, man, she'd be fucking.
Especially
she think that's pollution.
Playing,
so
she's not listening to Balls to the Wall, that's for sure.
Yeah, exactly. I'll just imagine that she'd freak out. So this is when we meet Ernie. He's kind of like a nerd guy, like he looks like a 50s nerd. You know what I mean? The glasses and the slick back black hair. So they're all going to school, and they're talking about him playing Scrambled with his parents, and he didn't win because the mom didn't accept fellatio. Okay, has a word that for him to win.
What a weird ass conversation.
Yes. And they're all talking about chicks and stuff, like normal college guys do.
Yeah.
Or the high. I guess they're in high school.
Guys.
Yeah.
They're in high school. Yeah.
So we're at the school. The blonde. What? This girl had a name. What was her name?
Isn't it Roseanne?
Roseanne.
That's what the cast name list says she is.
So Roseanne's there, and she is all into Dennis, and Dennis doesn't care about her at all. And then like Dennis's friend comes over. He's all like, "No, wouldn't put I don't know where this girl." She basically tells this girl's a slut. This blonde girl was like, "I don't want to put my mouth in that thing." And he's all like, "Hey, we got the new girl here, and she's smoking hot." I can't believe he said this line. He's like, "Bro, you could tell this was in the '80s." He's like, she has a smart looking body. No, she has a smart looking look about her, but her body looks like a slut. I was like,
wow.
Whoa. Damn.
Talking about shit you can't say today.
Golly, these people were wild back in the 80s, bro. They didn't care.
Yep. Those were wild times.
So she walks by, everybody just staring a hole through her. She looks pretty good. She got a little knee-high socks on, a little fuzzy hair. All right. I guess this is like a slut look back in it. I have no idea.
I guess so.
So, and then this whole time, Arnie, he can't get into his locker, because he's a nerd. All right, so now Dennis, he's eating lunch, and he's wondering where Artie's at. So he asks one of his friends. He's like, Artie's still in the shop. And he's with Buddy. And Dennis is like, oh, shit. Not fucking Buddy. All right. So then we go back to the car shop. All right. I guess they got their own, like, shop class with cars. And which makes sense, because that was kind of like a booming industry at this time. And Buddy is basically like the bully Fonz of the movie.
Yes, kind of.
Yeah, it's kind of like
sure. I'll go with that.
You know what I mean? He has the frizzy hair with the sideburns, and he's a brother jacket guy. So he's bullying Ernie about his lunch. Dennis comes in, he's like, Ernie, just grab your lunch, let's go eat. And I was thinking, motherfucker, can't you see him being bullied? He can't grab the lunch, okay? You can't just grab it and leave.
Did you see him being bullied?
All right. You blind?
Yeah.
So our boy, Buddy, he's all pissed off. He's like, come and take it. Then he pulls out his little switch knife. All right. And then he taunts him some more. And then he cuts the food down. And eventually they get into a brawl. Like he pushes Arnie over. And then Dennis and Buddy scrap for a little bit. Dennis actually gets a good punch on him. Teacher comes by. I guess he's the shop teacher. Telling all of Buddy's friends to go to his office. And this is when I noticed, like, the taller one of Buddy's friends with, like, kind of like the ginger hair. It's fucking dude from Friday the 13th Part 2, the nerd guy. All right? I was like, oh, shit, he's showed up in this movie. And he didn't do jack shit in this movie. He was just there.
No.
Okay?
Yep. Basically what happened in Friday the 13th Part 2.
Yeah. Well, he was more present in that movie.
That's true.
But he was still like a background character in a way. But yeah, I was like, oh shit, there he is. Because the guy has like a kind of a neat looking look about him. It's like it's weird because he looks like a nerd guy, but they had him part of Buddy's bullying crew. Right.
Right. He plays like a different kind of role than we expect him to. Yeah. After having seen him in Friday the 13th Part 2.
So I believe the fatter one of Bully's crew was Stephen Tash, and like he grabs after Dennis like punches like Buddy, he grabs him, he chokes him, he grabs his dick.
Yeah.
Alison, have you ever fought somebody and got him by the chokehold and just grabbed her dick?
I was going to actually ask you the same question. Like, is that something that people used to do?
Yeah, I mean, that's
like
how you
just grab somebody's dick.
You just grab the dick, brother, and just go at it.
Like, I mean, I could see like kicking somebody in the balls or something,
tamed
or punching him in the dick or something if you have to. But
no,
like, I just can't imagine like
grab that motherfucker. He's like, I'm taking that shit with me.
That Accept album should be playing through this entire scene, I think. But I don't know. I mean, it's just like I just can't imagine that. But I don't know. It's a movie. Maybe it's like I mean, it's a movie thing. I have no idea.
So the big thing is the teacher tells Buddy to go to his office, and Dennis reveals that Buddy had a knife, and Buddy is like kind of like pushing back to show him the knife, and he eventually does. So now he's going to be in deep trouble, and he's going to get revenge on both Arnie and Dennis, one way or another.
Yeah, I was a little shocked at the scene at first because I didn't realize the teacher didn't know he had the knife.
Yeah.
And I was like, holy shit. I mean, like, 1983 was a Wild West. You could pull a knife. You could pull a switchblade on somebody and you just get sent to the principal's office. Like now Yeah, like now you'd be suspended forever.
Yeah, probably
if you
locked
could even
up.
come back to school. Yeah.
So they're driving, and then Arnie wants to see the car.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so he goes up to this like house of this car that has a for sale sign on it, but it's like a car is all fucked up piece of junk. It's the same car from the beginning. Takes a look at the car all over and stuff. It's all old and shit. And he tells, and then like he was wondering, like Dennis is like, this shit ain't gonna turn on. And then this old guy shows up. He's like, yeah, it'll turn on. It'll turn on, brother. All right. And he turns it on, and then they start negotiating a price for it. And Dennis is like, man, you don't want to buy this piece of junk shit. You don't want this. He's like, yeah, I'm gonna buy it. And he eventually settles. I think it's on $250 to buy the car.
Yeah, because he talks him down for $300.
Yeah. And this is the one also to the old guy says, like, you know, my brother loved this car. Because they're asking, like, you know, why is the car in bad shape and stuff? It's like, well, my brother loved this car. And, you know, they're like, well, why is he giving it away? He's like, well, he's not here right now. He's under the ground. All right. So the car's just been sitting here and stuff. So if you want to buy it, you can. And he loved that damn car. So it's
still 1978, right?
Yeah. This is all 1978.
Yeah, they didn't move again. Yeah. So $300 in 1978 is like having $1,300 today. So he bought that car for $1,300, essentially.
Not bad. Well, it was all kind of like junked and fucked up. So Dennis is all like trying to basically talk Arnie out of it. You know, because Arnie, he's like, what? I think he said he was like 16 at this time? 16, 17? So he doesn't even have like
He says he's 17.
Yeah, he doesn't even have a driver's license.
Car.
Yeah, he can't register a car and stuff. So Dennis is also telling the old guy's like, hey, man, don't show him. He doesn't know what he's doing. And the old guy's like, you don't know half of what's going on around here. I was like, what the hell? So now Arnie is back with his parents, and they're fighting about him buying the car. And then the mom is blaming Dennis of not trying to stop him. And Dennis is like, I tried to stop him. He's like, well, you didn't do hard enough. All right. And then Artie goes on saying, like, you know, I've done everything you've ever asked from me. I joined the chess club. I'm a nerd and shit. Can I just have one thing in my life, a car? All right.
And they say no.
And they're like, no, you can't do it. And he just runs out of there and he goes away. And he leaves because he's all pissed off because he just wants one thing in his life. But I can get it. You know what I mean? When you have controlling parents like that, you just want one thing that's yours.
Yeah, one shitty car.
One shitty car. So he brings this car to the garage. And this is actually my favorite scene in the movie. Because I like little funny old men. Like this guy, This guy remind me of, you know what this guy remind me of, Alison? He reminds me of you.
I don't know you're gonna say that.
He reminds me of you of what you want to tell retail customers on a daily basis. Okay, that's what he reminded me of. So they get into the garage, right? They had to honk their horn to get in. The guy comes up, is like, what do you kids want with that honk? Turn that piece of junk off here. All right, if you don't ever what did he say? Put something on the car again, I'm gonna kick your ass out of here. Listen, I don't trust you fucking kids at all. All right, you got hard-working people that come to this garage to fix up their cars. Not all you fucking rich yuppies out here. All right, and then they're like, it's like, listen, if you want to do the cars over here, you gotta do two things: stay quiet and no smoking. And Dennis is like, well, all those people are smoking over there. You better shut your pie hole. I was like,
it's not my fault I hate people.
Bro, I was like, this guy is Alison's spirit. I was like,
doesn't Arnie say, I don't smoke?
I think it's all going on. Like he went with the artist to like he's like telling customers this. Like it's like two customers. Like Arnie's like, you look like a little creep. You look like a little creep. I don't know if I want you creeping around my garage. All right.
Why? So my question is, why is the garage open this late?
Fuck, I don't know.
Like it's after dark. I mean, I know it's in November, but like it's past 6 o'clock or whatever. Why can they even go to the garage this?
Well, maybe
late?
They're open until 9.
Maybe they're open until 9. But like, so basically, the garage. I don't know if a real thing like this exists, but see if I'm understanding this correctly. So the garage is a place that you can rent a spot and you work on your own car, right?
Yeah.
Like he doesn't fix the cars.
Yeah, he doesn't fix
like
it. You just rent it. But he has a bunch of junk stuff. It's kind of like a junkyard, but you can rent a spot in the garage to fix your own car.
Yeah, and then because he tells Arnie that he can get parts out of the junk.
Yeah, so basically he does this business for the working man. Like, he probably gets a lot of mechanics. You know what I mean? That doesn't want to go to like the dealer or some shit to fix their car, so they'll come there to fix their own car. That's why he was saying like he caters to the blue collar. So he doesn't want some yuppie rich kid to come in here and start, taking over and stuff.
But because definitely a rich kid would drive a car like that.
Sure. Exactly. He did also say like, yeah, I seen somebody, I knew about this car. Like, I know somebody that died in a car like this before. So we're kind of hinting about who the previous owner was.
Yeah.
All right. So now Arnie, he is. They drive back after they leave the car there, and he's all like, Arnie has to head home and stuff. And he's like, and then Dennis is like, what's going on with this car? Why do you like this car so much? And Arnie's like, well, I like this car because, it's ugly, just like me. And then Dennis says a word I can't say in 2023. Let's just say it starts with, yes. Q and R. Okay. Yeah. And I was like, okay, this is 83. Gotcha. And then they're back, and now we're, this is the next day. We're back at the junkyard. Old guy comes up to the Arnie. He's like, hey, this guy was my favorite guy in the movie. I don't know. What was his name? He had a name. He owned the junkyard. He was, oh God.
Will.
Yeah, Will. Yeah, it was
Will Darnell.
Will Darnell of Darnell's Garage. Yeah. He goes up to Arnie. He's all like, hey. I just because I agree for you to have the car here doesn't mean you can go, dig gold mine over here digging through all my parts. All right, I didn't give you permission to go through my parts for free. All right, and he's all like, listen. Well, we can make yourself a deal over here. You know what I mean? How about you to just clean up a little bit and do a couple errands for me over here. And I'll let you dig through my parts over there. All right. And then you can fix up your car. And Arnie's like, well, I thought you had all those parts you didn't want anything to do with them. He's like, well, just because I didn't have anything to do with them doesn't mean I'm going to give you for free. All right. So how about it? How about we'll make that deal if you do some work around here, like clean the toilets, do some deliveries for me and stuff. And then Arnie's like, oh, I don't know, man. I got to think about it. The old guy's like, and he was all like, think about it. Well, fucking don't think about it too hard. I'm going to kick your ass out of here. I was like, yes.
Too hard. So Darnell's a little bit different of a character in the book. So that that scene kind of alludes just to what Darnell's like in the book. Darnell's like a criminal who smuggles things.
Ah, gotcha.
In the book. And Arnie ends up working for him to smuggle cigarettes or something. So that's kind of alludes to what to the book a little bit, but was changed for the movie.
Yeah, because this one, Darnell, he was just a nice, very wordy, mouthy, old garage owner guy.
Yeah, he's very curmudgeonly, very grumpy.
So now Arnie gets in the car and he's playing 50s music.
Yes, because that's all the car plays.
Yeah, and then at this time,
as Lee points out later.
Yeah, and then I guess somehow Arnie's changing because he doesn't wear his glasses anymore now, which is semi-strange. I guess the car has magic powers where it can change you physically too. Was that ever explained?
Yes, so because
was that explained in the book?
No, but I don't remember it being explained in the book. But I mean, the car does have all kinds of magical powers.
Yeah. So now we have Dennis and his crew. They're at the library. They see the new girl, right? And then one guy, he tried to ask out the new girl, but he got turned down. So now Dennis is gonna try, and the guy bets him $1 that she's gonna turn his ass down. So Dennis,
$1
$1 whole, brother. It's kind of like that Jericho and Christian bet from a long time ago. My wrestling fans out there now. But he's walking by, and the fucking what's her name, Roseanne? She's all eyeing him. That's all. That's like her character. All her character was booked for was to look at Dennis all sexual. Okay.
Absolutely.
So he goes on by her, grabs a book, goes sits by Leanne. Roseanne's like, "What the hell?" She doesn't even say anything. I guess she just looks upset. And then Dennis says, hey, you like dancing? Huh? You like going out? How about we go out and dance? She's like, oh, I can't. I already got a date. He's like, with who? And then he just leaves. And then he has to give the guy $1 because he got denied from Leanne. And then now we have Dennis at nighttime. He's going to go to Arnie's house. And the parents are mad at Arnie. You can hear them leaving and stuff. And Arnie runs into Dennis. And he's like, oh, shit. And Dennis is like, oh, you got no glasses no more. He's like, hey, man, I can't make it. I got some stuff to do. I forgot. And he's like, all right, man, that's cool. That's what Dennis says. And then the mom was like, hey, did you make plans with Dennis and now you're not? What kind of friend are you? And then Arnie's like, hey, just get off my back, man. You know what I mean? Because, I'm mad. Get off my back.
Yeah, because I'm mad. Get off my back, man.
Yeah, get off my back, yeah. And so, like, the mom's, like, very concerned about Arnie because he's acting different now. And she's asking Dennis, like, what's going on with him? He's like, I don't know. I haven't seen him in a couple weeks. She's like, oh, I'm just getting kind of worried about him. And ever since he got that car, he's changed. And I found out some crazy news when we went to get the car registered. Apparently, the former owner in the car died from carbon monoxide poison. And he's like,
yeah.
And hold on. And then Dennis like, does Arnie know? And then Mom's like, Arnie doesn't know anything. I was like, what?
Nothing at all.
What does that mean? He doesn't know anything. Was he brain dead now? Does he have carbon? I have no idea. Okay.
Maybe he has carbon monoxide poisoning. Yes. So I was a little confused at this point in the movie because now his parents seem like they're nicer, and they're like on Arnie's side. When you first meet them, they just seem like complete fucking assholes.
Yeah, I know exactly.
Like like when they're damn, what's his name? Dennis. So like they blame Dennis for Arnie buying the car.
Yeah.
And he's because she even he looks like, I mean, he plays that so well because she like looks at him, she's like, and you, how could you let him do that? And he like looks around like, is there somebody behind me that she's talking to?
Yeah, exactly.
Like how is it his fucking fault? And then, and she's just like, he's just like, I think I'm going to leave. She's like, that's a good idea. Like, it's unbelievable that she would blame him for Arnie buying the car after he tried to talk him out of it. So his parents just come across as complete assholes. But in this scene, we're supposed to like believe that they're like looking out for Arnie's best interest or whatever. It's weird.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. The progression of the parents is kind of weird. So now we have Dennis. He goes visit the old guy who Arnie bought the car from, which his name was George Liebe.
Mm-hmm.
And he's asking like, hey man, he finds him. He's like, hey man, I know about your brother. He's like, okay. He's like, my brother was an asshole. All he cared about was his car. All right, that's the only thing he ever cared about in life, and he died the same in the car too, and everything. He was just telling about how this car like possessed him and everything, and how like everybody died the same way. Like his daughter died in the car, and his wife died too, all from the possession that he had with this car. All right.
Mm-hmm.
So now Dennis goes to the garage and looks at the car on its own. He tries to get in there, and the car starts playing music, and he leaves. So now we're at a football game where Dennis, I guess he was the quarterback. No, he was the running back. No, he was the running back. Because he wasn't because he was the one running when he got tackled. All right.
Okay, I couldn't remember. Remember if he was like tackled because he was about to throw the ball. Or if he was catching it. You're right. He was going to catch the ball. Okay.
So they do a play, and before they do that, Ernie's car shows up, all red. All right. And we have the whole crew there. We have the Roseanne girl. She's doing her character, staring at Dennis. We actually have Buddy and his crew, like just at the football game, hanging out.
Yeah. Even though they tried to stab the running back like a week ago.
Yeah. Well, what's funny because when the car pulled up, Buddy's game was all like, "Hey, isn't that Ernie's car?" I was like, "Yes." And then one guy was like, "I know where he keeps it." So it's kind of like a red herring for later. And then they do a play. Dennis gets distracted. This is kind of like a wrestling match. Dennis gets distracted by Ernie bringing out his date, which his date was Leanna. And he just brings her out and starts making out with her. And, like, it was so weird. Like, he just parks at the football game at a random parking space, gets Leanna out, they start making out, and then Dennis gets tackled and injured. All right?
Yeah, and they're playing football in the daytime, which is weird. Like, why are they playing football in the daytime?
It's the early game.
High school football games are on Friday nights everywhere. They're playing in the middle of the day somewhere?
Yeah, well, this one is 1978, brother. It's a little different. We got curfew.
I guess so. I guess it was.
So I did like it when he got tackled and hurt, but his crew was all happy. Like, yeah, he deserved it. So now we're in the hospital, all right? And apparently, like, this is like Ernie's third time visiting because Dennis was like knocked out so much. And apparently Dennis can never play football again because he's too injured now.
Yeah. That's also really weird because he just took a basic hit.
Yeah.
I mean, not that it couldn't happen, but like he just took a basic hit and now he's fucked for life.
Well,
like,
it's interesting too because apparently he's injured to play football, but he can use a tractor later on. Or a bulldozer.
Oh, yeah, I mean, of course. I mean, it doesn't get as hot. You know, you don't get hit like in a bulldozer like you do in. I mean, he can't not do nothing. He just can't play football anymore.
All right, so now he's also like, hey, what's going on with you and Leanne? And then Aaron starts bragging about, you know, hitting her up and everything. And they talk about the car a little bit and how fast he got it fixed up. All right. And he's just saying, like, you know, it's just unfortunate that I can't keep it at home. I have to keep it in the garage the whole time because my parents. And he starts going off about his parents. He's like, I just don't get parents. It seems like they're just here to threaten you the whole time. And then he takes off.
Well, his do seem like that.
Yeah. So now we're at a drive-through in the rain. All right. Ernie and Leanna start kissing. My boy goes for the titty and the piss, and then he gets denied. And she's like, I can't do this, and she runs out in the rain. So it's like, oh man, we're so close. So he's out there. He's like, they're talking to each other in the rain. He says like, hey, you know, it's all good. I'm sorry about all that. And then Leanne just goes out of nowhere. She's saying, you know what, Ernie? I think you're doing this because of the car. You know what I mean? You love the car too much. You don't care about me. You just care about the car. And I was just thinking, so he loves the car so much that he's going for your tit? Okay. Interesting. So, you know, she's basically blaming the car of how she feels like Ernie cares more about the car than she does her. And I was like,
which is true.
Have you met some of my friends? Brother, I'll tell you that for sure. That's a guy thing, especially in Texas, brother. Okay?
Yeah.
So then they go back in the car, and they're arguing about the car some more a little bit. And then, like, she's basically saying, like, you know, she's like, this car, she feels like the car is a girl, and, like, Arine's cheating on her, and Arine's like, this just is a fucking car. And then, like, he feels like the windshield wiper is breaking a little bit, so he gets out of there and tries to fix it. And then the doors lock, music turns on, this 50s music, and then Leanne starts choking on her burger. And then Arnie tries to get in there, he can't get in there. There's like this shining light in the car while her choking, she's stuck in the car. And eventually a stranger comes out, does the Heimlich maneuver on her. Ernie gets all upset because he can't tell what's going on. He's like, get your hands off her. And then he realizes like he was actually trying to save her life by doing the Heimlich maneuver on there.
Yes. This scene looked really cool. I really like the way they had the big light, the bright light shining inside the car while she was choking. Yeah. The car was killing her. Looked fucking awesome.
Yeah. He takes her home and everything, and then he starts to apologize about, you know, what happened and everything. And she's like, you know, the car, man, it's like changing you and stuff. All right. He's like, listen, it's not that. Like, I apologize, and I didn't realize you were choking, but I'll take the car. I won't use it as much, and we can hang out. So he drives the car back to the garage, but during this, the Buddies bullying crew, that's why I named them, they all show up and they sneak into the garage, and then Ernie leaves. And Ernie also, too, you know, during this time, he actually takes the boss's car here and there, too. So he drives his car for personal stuff, but he takes the boss's car for all the errands. So that's how he can get from garage to home all the time.
Yeah.
So now they just have a bunch of smashing weapons. Okay. So I thought something was like crazy was gonna happen in this scene, but they basically just show up with all these weapons, and they just fucking destroy this fucking car. Like just radio comes on, destroys it. They just beat the shit out of this car. It was pretty crazy. It's kind of like reminds me of that Street Fighter game where you gotta beat up the car to go to the next level.
Yeah. Yeah, it was, and they just smashed the car to pieces.
Yeah.
It looked like a lot of fun, actually.
Yeah, just beating that shit car up, and then like so now we see that it's the next morning, and Ernie is waiting for Leanne outside the garage, and he was just gonna go in there and check out. He forgot his wallets in the car because remember he said he wasn't gonna be using the car too much to take Leanne around, but he forgot his wallet in there, so he just wants to go grab the wallet from the car. And of course, when they get in to the place, he's also saying too, like, hey, I have a really good idea, Lan. Why don't we both try out for the same colleges? So if we get it, we can still be together. Okay.
Yeah. That'd be great.
So he sees the car all fucked up. He's like, oh fuck. And then Leanne's like, well, what the fuck just happened? And she goes to touch him a little bit, and he's like, keep your fucking hands off me. Get out of here. She's all pissed. So now Ernie is at dinner, all right, and he blames his mom for this to happen because remember the parents didn't let him keep Christine at the house.
At the house, yeah. Well, he's not wrong.
Yeah. So and the mom's like, well, don't be blaming me on this stuff the whole time. And he's like, Mom, somebody took a shit on the dash.
I couldn't help but laugh at this part. Like they shit at his car. Not even like in the seat, but they shit on the dash.
Like I was like, they shit on the dash, man. I was like, okay, that's so random. And then like, okay, then Dad was like, listen, me and your mom have decided to buy you a new car. He's like, and then Ernie's like, that's what everybody wants. It is to me not to have this Christine car. That's what everybody wanted in the first place, huh? All right, and then Dad's like, listen, you've been kind of an asshole lately. All right, and then he basically Ernie just wants to leave, okay, and he basically tells his parents to go fuck themselves, and he leaves, right? And the Dad's like, hey, you need to not talk to your mom like that. You need to go in there and apologize. And he's like, keep your fucking hands off me. And then he eventually like takes it down, and chokes his ass a little bit, and like says him to calm down. It's like, damn, this is a pretty intense moment. Like, damn.
Yeah, now that Arnie's like a badass and not a nerd.
Yeah, he's a badass now. He's fully I don't give a shit mode right now. All he needs is a leather jacket. It's good.
Well, I was going to mention the clothes he's wearing because I think they look weird, and I guess maybe they're like popular 1983 clothes, but I mean he still looks like a fucking nerd even when he's wearing like
this is 1978
whatever that jacket is with the. Oh, it's not. I forgot. It's 1978. Yeah. But yeah, he's wearing like that jacket with the popped up collar.
That was a
or
big
whatever.
thing back in the day, brother.
Wearing? Was it? Okay.
Yeah, I wear my pop up jacket all the time. I got one on right now.
I bet you do. Right. That would not surprise me at all.
So like Ernie goes back to the garage, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right, and then he's there. He's just looking at the car and everything. So he goes back to the garage, right? And he says, like, talks to the car about working together. And then he's like, car starts fixing itself a little bit. And he's like, oh. He's like, okay, show me. And then, like, the car, like, fixes its whole self. And our boy Ernie is, like, super, like, excited about it.
Yeah, is the car talking to him?
No, well, no. It's like, it, like, turns its lights on and stuff. Like it might play some 50s music or it might like turn its lights on and stuff.
Yeah, but like when he turns away from the car and he's like, show me. Yeah. Like it makes it sound like the car said something to him in his mind or whatever.
I guess maybe in his mind. But remember
like
too,
maybe the car said, I can fix myself or whatever.
Yeah, there was a line too that Leanne said like that while they're making out, every once in a while the car will play this music and stop. Like it's angry. So
Yeah, because she says that it's like the car's jealous.
Yeah. So now,
because like sometimes it'll just stop playing the music or whatever.
So now we see Stephen Tash, the fat one, Buddy's crew. He's all like in an alley. He gets dropped off by like a truck, and we hear some like 50s music. And this is when we see the Christines all made up, like the car is in perfect condition now. All right, and it chases him all throughout the alley. All right. And I believe I got the guy's name right. Is the fat one. So he's running. We basically have this whole big chase scene during the whole time, and eventually he gets ended up in like a little corner, and he thinks like he thinks it's Cunningham, Ernie Cunningham. He thinks he's in the car, so he pulls out a weapon to get him, but then the car actually crushes him by destroying its sides and like running him into it. I thought that was pretty creative.
Yeah. Because we now know the car can just heal itself
it can heal
whenever
itself.
it wants.
Yeah, so basically you can, if it damages itself to kill somebody, it's fine.
Yeah.
So now it's November 23rd, and Dennis is still in the hospital. All right? And he gets visited by Ernie. Ernie's asking about what happened to the fat guy, the guy that just Stephen Tash, what happened to him. And he says, "Hey man, I heard your car is all messed up." He's like, "Oh yeah, don't worry about my car. It's perfectly fine." All right. And they talk about the buddy and how like how his crew, if their car's fine, they might go after the car again. He's like, "Don't worry about it. They won't do it. I don't have to worry about buddy. They won't have. I don't have to worry about them going out my car ever again." And he's like,
"Nope.
Happy Thanksgiving." I was like, "Sweet. Holiday movie, brother." We got a Thanksgiving reference.
Yep. Yeah. And this is the scene where he pours the beer in the glass and it, without turning the glass to the side, it just foams all the way to the top.
Yeah. It's like, come on, man.
Yeah, that annoyed me. Like, come on, learn how to pour a beer.
Yeah. So then we meet Detective Rudy Jenkins, the police detective, and he wants to talk to Ernie about where he was last night and about the guy who died. And he was saying like, "Hey man, your car looks pretty good for having some shit on the dash." He's like, I knew all this information because your girlfriend Leanne told me. And he's like, "Oh, Leanne's not my girlfriend." He's all like, "She's telling you stories, man. They didn't fuck up my car as bad." I was like, "No, she said she was pretty honest about them fucking up your car. She saw it with her own eyes. She even saw the shit on the dash."
Well, shit wipes off.
He's like, "Man, you must be a hell of a fixer-upper. You know what I mean? You must be a hell of a, you did a hell of a paint job on here, too."
Yeah, because Arnie's like, actually, can't you see where the paint on the door is a different color? And he's like, "No, not really." But, yeah. So he's starting to figure out that something's fucked up.
Yeah, something's fishy going on here. Something's not right with this. And of course, Arnie says, "You're not arresting me. I'm going to be leaving." So he leaves. And so now Arnie calls up Leanne, gets mad at her for calling the police on him. And he's all like, first he apologizes, then he gets angry at her, apologizes again, and eventually tells her to go fuck off. All right. And so now we have Buddy's gang. They're in the store, right? So all like just hanging out in the store, doing gang stuff in the store.
That's what I was gonna say. They're in the gang doing the gang stuff.
So they're getting followed, right? And they're gonna go meet their other friend, who was the guy from Friday the 13th Part 2. He's working in a garage. Just so happens to work at a different garage too. It's more like one of those gas station garages. So they're gonna go pick him up to go drink some beer. But then they start getting followed, okay, and they start playing chicken with this car. But of course the car is pretty, basically Christine's following them right now. So they follow him all the way to this garage, and Buddy gets out saying, "Hey man, this motherfucker's been following me and stuff." You know what I mean? And then they both get out of the car, and then Christine just runs right into Buddy's car. And, they're all like kind of shocked. And then he's like, "Man, I'm going to fucking kill this person in the car." And then Christine runs Buddy's car into the garage where the guy from Friday Part 2 was in. Gas spills everywhere, and the whole place blows up. So we had this big ass explosion. And I thought this scene was fucking awesome, where the car like comes out of there and it's all like fucking on fire and shit. I was like, fuck. And then Buddy's like, "Fuck this shit, I'm gonna run." So he like runs out of there. And then you get that fucking cool ass scene where this car's on fucking fire, running to chase down Buddy. The highway? Yeah.
Oh, damn. That shit looked great.
Oh,
I remember
God.
seeing that in the trailer, and I thought, oh, my God, this looks amazing.
Yeah. And I was listening to like how they did that behind the scenes. Is basically it was a guy who was in like a fire suit, like this like high end fire suit with oxygen doing it.
Yeah, and the car was actually on fire. See, now they would just drive the car and put fucking CG flames on it, and it would all look like shit.
No,
but back then you had to real
thing.
fucking fire.
Yeah.
And that's why 1980s movies are better than movies from today, because he was real fire.
Yeah, and like he was saying too, like the guy who was doing the stunt for that, he said the first scene that they filmed was the car going into the garage and it blowing up, and he said like he was supposed to back out and then do the whole back out sequence, but he said he was right in the middle of it and the car stalled out. So not only is he in a burning car, but he's also in a burning building as well too, and he had to like figure out how to get out of there. But he said like it took him a couple takes and a couple different cars to get that all perfect. And I was like, fuck, man, that shit would have been scary as shit. But he actually said like driving at nighttime on the hallway with the flame wasn't that bad. It was just very hard to see. I was like,
oh yeah, I would imagine so.
So the flaming Christine eventually just runs over Buddy and then burns up his body. So all the people, all the Buddy crew, all right, it's all dead. And of course, Buddy thought it was all Ernie during this whole time. He thought it was Ernie in the car. So now the car comes back to the garage. The car's all burnt and everything. It's all burned up and everything. And the old owner there is the owner's there. Will. Darnell's there. And he sees the car parking itself and everything. And he calls up somebody. He's like, hey, does Ernie have my own, didn't Ernie borrow my station wagon? They're like, yeah, he did. He's like, okay, thanks. And he gets his shotgun. He goes up to the car. And he tries to open it, but it's hot. He eventually opens up the car. He gets inside. He doesn't see anything. Leaves a shotgun there. All right. And then I believe music comes on. All right. And then he eventually closes the door. And then he gets killed inside the car. Yeah. So he gets in the car. No one's there. He gets in the car, sits down. Radio comes on. Door locks. And he gets killed by the seat pushing. Yeah. It was like the seat pushed up to squish him and against the dash.
Into the or the stern wheel or whatever. Yeah. Yes.
So now Ernie shows up the next morning, sees a bunch of police around there. Cops ask what he was doing last night, saying like he was doing like shipments for Daryl. Mm-hmm. And he's like, "Do you got receipts?" He's like, "Yeah, I got receipts." He's like, "Well, why didn't you come home? Why didn't you come here last night when you were done?" It's like, "Well, I was tired." I was like, "Well, we found him dead in the seat." And he's like, but he was like actually kind of confused at this time. He's like, "Well, I didn't do anything, and I have people, around me that says, I wasn't here." All right, and then Ari's not really sure what's going on, and he's like, "Listen, guys, I got to go to school right now, okay?" So it's like, okay, just drop off your stuff, and so it's like, yeah, so basically, it was kind of weird during this time because Ernie was like semi sad, but he's also like, I just need to get out of here type of thing. So you couldn't tell if it was like Ernie doing the whole killing, like, or not. So
because at this point we still think it could be Ernie in the car, right?
Yeah. So now Leanne calls Dennis. This is like a Happy New Year's thing going on, right? It's like during New Year's time, you can see a tree in the background. There you go. And Christmas. Yes. And Leanna calls Dennis and tells him about, talks about Christine, the car, and and then eventually Dennis says like, yeah, the guy who used to own the car and stuff, like his daughter choked in the car one time. And then like they basically had to meet because since he heard that, she thinks something's up at the car because, she choked in the car and the daughter choked in the car too. All right. So now they're talking about Ernie, all right, and then how like he's changed because of the car, and basically Dennis says like, okay, well I'm gonna go visit Ernie for New Year's, all right, and I'm gonna talk to him about this, And Leanne's like, listen, I think like he's like far gone right now. Like he's kind of like just worried. I think the car is changing him so much that he's like super different right now. And he's like, well, don't worry about it. If the car is, changing him a lot, we'll just destroy it.
Yeah, we'll just destroy the car. No problem.
And then they are outside, and we saw one Christmas light. So that makes this a Christmas horror movie.
We firmly established it's a Christmas horror movie.
So now Arnie picks up Dennis, and they're about to go to Ernie's holiday party, I guess. And Ernie's like, hey, my car is your car. How about you have a beer? Okay. And so they drink a beer. And Alison, have you ever heard of Southern Cross beer before?
I haven't. I noticed that, though. I thought that was kind of cool.
I don't think it's a real beer.
So I didn't. Yeah, I don't know if it's a real beer or not. I didn't get a chance to look it up.
But it may or may not taste like Budweiser.
It might. It very well might.
So now he's all talking about, we're gonna fucking death to all the shitters of the world of 1979, brother, because I'm a rebel now, because I'm in a car.
Yeah.
You ever seen Rebel Without a Cause? That's me. All right. Do you want to
now
toast
he has
to
a
that?
cause.
And then he wants to toast to, right? And then Dennis is like,
yeah,
I can't toast to that. He's like, well, why not? He's like, well, I'll just toast to us being friends. He's like, okay, we'll toast to that then. And his car too. All right. He said, like, that girl with Leanne's like, she's pretty worried about you. And he's like, oh, fuck Leanne. All right. And then he goes on, like Ernie's going on. It's like, you know what? I don't need Leanne. Like, there's nothing like being behind, of your own car. You know what I mean?
It's all about Christine.
It's all about being. This line right here was every car dude's line I knew in my life. Like, they would definitely say this. He's like, yeah, being behind the wheel of this car is better than pussy.
If you say so.
So now Dennis, he's a little worried about our boy Arnie. So now Dennis, he meets Leanne, right? So now, like, I guess, like, they came up with the conclusion, like, yes, Ernie is fucked up and we got to get rid of this car because this car is making him evil. Okay? Because all the shit this guy was saying. So Dennis meets with Leanne at the garage and it's all empty and stuff. And they come up with a plan to get this bulldozer and they're going to lower him into the garage. Ernie or the car. And she's like, well, what if Ernie doesn't come? He's like, don't worry. If Ernie doesn't come, Christine definitely will.
Yep.
Okay.
So they know, they have an idea that the car can drive on its own.
Yes.
I guess at this point.
Yes. They kind of got all this figured out of how everything's been changing. And they were seeing how all this stuff was like, because like when Dennis was driving with Ernie in the car, he could tell like the car was like taking over a lot of the stuff here.
Yeah.
So now he wants, and for some reason, Leanne and Dennis, they're all like touching each other like, the whole time. Like I thought they were going to be fucking in that bulldozer. All right, so.
Well, yeah, it kind of is implied that they're like, getting kind of attracted to each other.
Yeah, it's like, well, okay. So now he tells Leanne to go hide in the office, and then she goes to hide in the office. She drops down from the bulldozer, and Christine's there. She pops out. Mm-hmm. And then Christine tries to run over Leanne, okay? And it misses her a couple times. And then Dennis uses the bulldozer to kind of like trap her with its shovel. And Christine tries to break through to there, but she can't. The Christine car can't run Leanne over. Right? And then this is when Dennis uses the bulldozer to kind of like smash up Christine, but then Christine keeps fixing itself during the whole time this is happening. And they thought they got the car one time, so they were about to go near the office, and Christine actually runs into the office. And this is when we can see Aaron pop out of the windshield because he was in the car the whole time. And then he looks kind of sad when he's looking at Leanne, and he has a big piece of window glass through his stomach, and he gives
he's all impaled in glass.
Yes, and he touches the car one last time. And this is also this is when Leanne gets away, and then Dennis gets the bulldozer again, and pretty much like crushes the car as much as he can. Like he's like beating the car as much so they can't move at all. And then this is the next morning when they make the car into like a cube.
Yeah, they take it to a. I don't know how they get. I don't know how that happens.
Well, it was probably in the junkyard.
Why does the car? Well, I mean, yeah, it is. But why does it's the next day? Like, why does the car not just repair itself?
Yeah. Oh, they did mention too when they first entered the garage how empty it was because the owner died. So I guess everybody took everything away.
Yeah, but yeah, they crashed the car into a cube. Yeah. And then all of a sudden they hear like a 50 song playing.
Yeah, but it was just the workers playing the song.
But it was just the worker playing it on the radio.
Yeah.
Then Leanne's like, I hate rock and roll.
Yeah, it was fucking weird. Like, I hate rock and roll. Like, bitch, I want rock and roll. It's some 50 shit. And then the police calls them heroes as well, too. But they don't feel like heroes because they couldn't save Arnie. Okay? And then they get closer to the car. And then you can see the car moving a little bit for a sequel that we won't get.
Yeah, like it's starting to repair itself.
Yep.
For a sequel that we won't get. Exactly.
So Christine. That's it, everybody.
What do you think?
I actually thought it was pretty good. Like a nice little story.
Pretty good.
It's not really like scary or anything like that, but it's kind of like a little obsessed guy obsessed with this car movie. You know what I mean? Kind of.
Yeah, I mean, like it looked good. Like you could tell John Carpenter directed this.
Yeah.
Like some of the scenes where Leanne's running through the streets looks like a scene from Halloween.
Yeah.
Definitely. I don't know how to describe it, but it's like she's the character's running through the street, and then like and then I guess they're using like a steady cam, and then the camera's moving with her, so it's kind of like you see the background moving and the character's moving. That's a very John Carpenter shot.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of that in this movie. And then the scenes where it's in the dark and the car's on fire, that's a very John Carpenter scene. I think he did a good job directing this. I mean, it's not one of his best movies by any means, but it's pretty good.
Yeah, I'd say it's a good story. You know what I mean? I like it.
Yeah.
Especially really big in the cars and scary shit. So it's a nice one. But yeah, I mean, we're rolling around with these holiday horror movies. So everybody check it out. Christine, definitely a fun one. Mm-hmm. Really good music too in this particular film. But everybody, join us here next week on the Retro Blood, where Retro Blood will be coming out on Christmas Eve doing our annual Christmas show. And we haven't told you guys what this movie is yet, so I'm going to break it here for everybody. Come join us as me and Alison will be drinking our stout beer, talking all about Gremlins.
Ooh, it's going to be a special one.
Fucking Gremlins, brother.
Great movie.
Love this movie. I used to watch this movie all the time when I was a kid. I've been waiting to talk about it forever. I was trying to find a good place to talk about it. And I was like, there's a little Christmas shit going on in Gremlins, so we're doing it for our Christmas episode, brother. Can't wait.
Yep, it takes place during Christmas.
Yes. And
Christmas movie.
Yes.
Just like Die Hard.
Just like a Die Hard, brother. It counts.
Yeah.
And if me and Alison have the time, we will let you guys know. We're going to do a little special lights out. We're probably going to do a lights out if we can about the new movie to hit. New horror movie to hit on Shudder. And it was in theaters for a little bit too, even though it got destroyed probably by Thanksgiving. It's a Wonderful Knife, brother.
It's a Wonderful Knife.
So if we have time, we'll drop that on the feed. So we got all your holiday joy. And of course, we will tell you about our New Year's plans as well too. But Alison, let's leave everybody with a little bit of the music on here.
Yeah, except
Balls to the Wall. Balls to the Wall. Let's play the title track, Balls to the Wall, because
let's do
if anybody was Balls to the Wall, it was our boy Arnie. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Fucking got the car, got the lady, got the attitude. Eventually got killed for it for loving his car too much. Loving that horsepower. You know what I mean? It destroyed itself.
And he was... And whichever one of those guys took a shit in the car was like probably balls to the dash while he was doing that. So.
Exactly. But everybody, we will see you next week for the Christmas episode, Gremlins. Alison, James Kline. See y'all later.
See you guys, and don't shit in a car.